SharePoint Designer workflows. All right, so yeah, I know a lot of people actually hate SharePoint Designer workflows, but when you start really getting into it, you're going to realize that it's pretty intuitive. It does a lot of things that typical programmers would actually take hours and hours to develop, but then you as SharePoint developers, you could actually do that within no time at all. Okay, so let's go ahead and start opening up SharePoint Designer. All right, so SharePoint Designer, it's a pretty strong tool. It actually, we haven't done SharePoint Design before, right? Right, awesome. So we're gonna go ahead and just, briefly touch base on SharePoint Designer, and you're gonna see that a lot of things that you can do from the browser is what you can do from SharePoint Designer as well. And you're gonna be, wow, this is so easy. Why don't we just focus on SharePoint Designer now? Pop open SharePoint Designer. And the first thing that is going to ask you is, come on, just thinking way too hard, is click on Open Site and just point to your website, which in this case is going to be aqltech.sharepoint.com. Make sense? So connecting is actually going to take a little bit of time, which is, it's HTTPS. And here I am. It's downloading stuff on my machine, and and what I actually get over here is SharePoint Designer. Have you guys seen anything more prettier than this screen ever before, Rustam?
No,
awesome. Awesome. It's a masterpiece. This is my Mona Lisa. I don't know about others, but this definitely is. So what you see over here is a pretty intact, very well done SharePoint tool, which you can actually use for even creating list libraries, anything. Pretty much a lot of things that you would actually end up doing. You could do it from here as well. Like, for example, on my left-hand side on the navigation, there's the left navigation, and there's on the left navigation, I see the second link. I see list and libraries. I click on list and libraries, and voila, I see all of my list and libraries. Okay, in one single place, and I can click open any of them, AQL Tech, and and I can see all the information about it. I can just change the name right from here. Okay, I see the URL, and if I want, I can click on Edit List Columns, and I can just go ahead and edit all the columns. The only column that this list actually has is title column. If I want to add a second column in here, I click on Add New Column, and I have the same choice of data types that I have for creating any other list, any other columns. Okay, so I click on a single line of text, and there's going to be some column by name column 1. Okay, and just like any other thing, I can actually go ahead and rename it. I have column settings, default value, allow blank values, take it out, and this becomes a required column. So I can pretty much do anything and everything from SharePoint Designer that I can do from the browser. Okay, and this is what makes it a pretty strong tool. It's very optimized, and it's pretty good. It's pretty nice and good. Once you get used to this, you're going to be using this over and over again. If I want to use add existing site columns, so these are the site columns, and I see the AQL site columns, just add them right in there. So I can do pretty much anything, which is creating lists, modifying lists, creating content types, creating site columns, or anything right from the SharePoint Designer interface itself. Click on save, and just saves pretty well. And now workflows. So from here I can see all the workflows built within SharePoint. The three are the three up in the top. These are the custom workflows. These are the SharePoint template workflows. Okay. And the ones down at the bottom are the custom workflows that I've created. and we're gonna see how we can create as many workflows as I want. Site pages is basically, the site pages library which exists within SharePoint. Click in there and then create a web part page. Just the same things that we have done, like 1,000 times so far, but from home page from SP Designer. But it's the same thing, and plus, not just the same thing, but this offers more. I can actually click open this page, okay, and these are the permissions on the page, okay. Who is able to view these permissions? I can break permissions right from here. Pretty much the same things that we do, that we have done before from the browser. Click on edit file, and this is going to pop open very nice, awesome and beautiful looking, code behind the scenes, which is kind of like HTML, but really not HTML. But at a certain point in time, we're going to go through some of this as well. Once you begin to understand this, you're going to see that it's got these tags, and these tags are these sections, and once and these are like 5 or 7 different sections only in every single page, which makes it look so complicated. But once you understand what those sections are, you're like, this is easy. There's only one single section in here, and that's what I gotta mess around with. Like, for example, the only section for the most part that I mess around with is placeholder main. That's it. Placeholder main is actually the whole body of the page. Throw your HTML, your text, or throw anything in there, and you're gonna see that it just fills it up with all the page information. But then this session is not about pages, so we're gonna go ahead and X this out, and then go back to site assets. Now again, site assets is just, if you go through the browser, you're gonna see site assets is also a library. You can just see this library from here as well. So again, this is just kind of like the second view of the same things that we see from the browser. Content type. Everybody loves content types, right? Iftikhar? Right, Rustam? Right, Mewish? Everybody loves content types. Just tell me yes, yes, yes. Everybody. Anita? Yes. So everybody loves content types, right? And you can create those awesome content types right from here. So which pretty much means that now you get bored creating content types from the first tool, then you can open up the second tool and keep creating content types, from a different tool for a change, So this is so much fun. And yes, yeah, I have seen that in the past. Yeah, yeah. Yes. But then, so you see all your content types that you have created over here, and these are a lot more intuitive. Like in the browser, you click on it, there's, a little bit of delay over there in pages loading up, but, there's no delay in opening up content types from the SharePoint Designer tool. Isn't that great, man? Not even that second delay. Awesome. So, and then we got side columns. Would you believe that we got side columns over here as well? Create as many side columns from here as you want. Okay. And then external content types. Once you got bored with content types, you move over into external content types. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. So basically,
in SharePoint Designer, what you're going to see that other than what you can do from the browser, there's a lot more. Right, Rustam? So, yeah, we were talking about external content types, right? So who's excited to see external content types here? Awesome, awesome. But but here's the thing. External content types are completely different, and we are not going to be discussing that for the scope of this class. Okay. But then you got data sources, and and then you got site groups, which is site permissions. I see smiles on faces all over when you talk about SharePoint site permissions and site groups.
yeah, that's
Right? Awesome, awesome. And then finally we have subsites. All the subsites, so you can actually see all your subsites right from here, right from one single place. And then Deepak called me this morning. He said that he was he was sick, but he wanted me to record the session and pass on his regards to everybody over here. So subsites, okay, and site groups. So this is pretty much it, and just like what couple minutes we went through SharePoint Designer, right? So everybody understands SharePoint Designer now. All right, so we're pretty much done. All right, so let's get started with SharePoint Designer workflows. Okay, so and with SharePoint Designer workflows, the thing is that you're going to see that there's a lot that can actually be done. Remember when we were working with 3-state workflows and you guys kept saying that, hey, you know what if there's a different process? What if there are more than 3 states? What if there are less than 3 states? Or what if I want to do things a different way? All right, so SharePoint Designer Workflows is capable of doing all of those crazy things. Okay, and so pretty much what you see up in the top is number one, list workflows. So when you're creating lists, when you're creating workflows for the list, you use list workflows. As easy as that. The scope is only the list. You want to create workflows which perform on only a certain list, and that's it. So you use list workflows. If you want to create reusable workflows, which is kind of like the same workflow that you want to apply over and over again on several different lists and libraries, then you use reusable workflows.
Which content type is one of them, right?
Yes, but that's different. That's different. We're going to come back to that, yeah. And then the third one is a site workflow. Site workflows basically means that they're not running on any list or library, but their scope is above even the site. The scope is on the is above the list or libraries. The scope is site. It's on the site. So when it's running on the site, it basically means that it can access any list and libraries. It can actually do a lot more things. Okay. Workflow settings, these are pretty much, just the different settings of workflows, and we're going to see what those settings are. But for the most part, it could be pretty much a selected workflow, and then since this is actually a desktop tool, so it reaches out to the server to download things on the local machine. So that's the reason you see that. So this is like an example of workflow settings for the approval workflow. You're going to see all the different settings over here, and the major setting that we have been using over and over again in the past are the start options. Okay, manual start, automatic start on creation, automatic start on change. Okay, so this is real fast, and we're going to come back to this again. Okay, and then finally you're going to see, import from Visio. So who's used Visio before? Awesome. Okay, so Visio is pretty much a Microsoft Office tool, okay, which is for designing business processes. Okay, it's like a graphical way of just designing, what's happening. Okay, just arrows and pictures and workflows and stuff like that. Okay. But then the good part is that, and a lot of business users, a lot of non-technical business users, whose job is only to do documentation, they understand Visio. They can actually create very nice graphical diagrams displaying a business process. What's a business process? Pretty much like a vacation system that we were talking about last time, or an expense system which we were talking about last time, which is request goes from one user to the manager and to a second manager and then to HR and then gets approved. So this is a business process. I can go ahead and lay it out in Visio with just arrows pointing all over, and then just lay out the business process. Okay, but then wouldn't it be awesome if I have all those graphic diagrams, which describes a business process? Wouldn't that be great if I can take that, import in my system, and it creates a workflow behind the scenes? Okay, so if we do a quick Google over here, Visio diagrams for business process. So, so more kind of this. If you take a look at this, this is a business process. This is what. Sorry, go back. Yeah, this is what a business process is. I mean, it just it prepares a requisition. Prepare request for quote, need reviews. Evaluate the request for quote, approve. So this request for quote, which is basically a document, which has got a quote in it, it's going through a process. It needs to be reviewed. It needs to be approved. So this is a perfect example of what a business process looks like. Okay, so I can go ahead and lay this out, and then I can import that as a workflow in SharePoint Designer. And it seems it's a pretty strong feature, and a lot of users actually like it. We are not going to do that though, because that requires dependency on SharePoint Visio, on Microsoft Visio, and our focus is entirely on actually designing workflows within SharePoint Designer. Yes, for graphically laying out a business process or or a workflow, or like for example, network layouts. Let's just say that there are 40 different computers and networks in my office, and I can just go ahead and lay out, the whole thing graphically instead of documenting the whole thing, so that people just look at it and they're going to say, "Wow, okay, I understand the whole network." Okay, so now let's get ready with SharePoint Designer.